Good morning, boys and girls. Today is October 1st, 2020. Welcome back to our World Cultures class. Again, our objective for this week is to explain how migration influences the character of places and regions. Last time that we were here, we discussed several important terms, migration, forced migration, the westward migration expansion. We discussed a little bit about how the New World and what people were seeking here and bringing their families, lots of vocabulary. So today we will continue. We have about 3 more points to cover on migration. So our agenda for today was to welcome everyone during attendance. While taking attendance, complete your do now. Morning announcements from our principal, Mr. Martinez, followed by any class announcements. Morning announcements, of course, are for the first class of the day, and then any class announcements for all the classes, followed by our lesson and our DOL. So let's get started. Quick reminder of geography. Remember, geography is the study of the world, its people, and the landscapes they create. Okay, remember, when we talk about geography, it's not just maps, it's not just location. We discuss PEGs, P-E-G-S, political, economical, government, and social aspect. Okay, very important to recall those throughout the entire year of our world culture study. Also, geography is broken down into 2 categories. Just a quick reminder, our human and physical features. Okay, so we are going to keep talking about migration. So our first point today is rural to urban migration. Okay, so when you talk about rural, you're talking about something more of like out in the country, out in the open farmland, the opposite of city. So when you talk about urban, you're talking about opposite of the country, more like the city aspect. Okay, and then I gave you a quick definition here on the slide. Okay, what causes these 2 things? So rural to urban migration in the region has resulted in a high urbanized culture, meaning that our cities are getting bigger and bigger. Okay, a lot of people want to live in the cities. I know we've discussed this before in our class. Why are some reasons people might want to live in the city? Reasons why cities get so populated. Some of the reasons that were given by you, which were very good reasons. Job opportunity, more places to visit, as far as entertainment and our social aspect. So this has happened both in the United States and Canada. Okay, the urban population is getting bigger and bigger. So this causes 2 things to happen. The urban growth, towns and cities are expanding, covering a greater area of land. Urbanization, an increasing proportion of people living in towns and cities. Okay, so by there being rural to urban migration, it is affecting these 2 things. Okay, after you listen to me speak, this is a good time to pause the presentation and take a moment to watch the vocabulary video. It is going to be very informational. It discusses community, which is a group of people who live in a certain place or have something in common. Remember, your city or town is a community. Okay, so when we discuss rural and urban areas where you're talking about our communities, your community, it talks about population. Population is the number of people who live in that certain place. Okay, so make sure to watch that video. It discusses a lot of important terms that we will cover in class. So it is important that you go through it. It gives an explanation of city, which is another word for urban community. It talks about the skyscrapers found in the city, which are the buildings. It talks about just different aspects of the 2, different types of places to live. It talks about suburbs. It talks of, rural communities. So make sure to take the time and watch that video, boys and girls. Okay. So then we go on, and again, looking past the first, population of immigrants coming into what is now the United States, we talk about now the migration that still exists today. And of course, there's not only migration from Mexico to the United States, there's migration from all places of the world. But one of the biggest areas or migrations that takes place in the U.S. is from Mexico to the United States. Okay, so migration from Mexico to the United States has impacted cultural practices as well as the spread of Spanish. Remember, cultural practices has to do with religion, with your language, with your food, with your music, with your everyday things that you do. So, along with the variety of cultures that populated the United States came in a variety of languages and religions. After people gained independence from Great Britain, talking back about what those first migrants came to the United States, they came to a land of tolerance and opportunity. And that's what people continue to do now, boys and girls. Okay, people that migrate here to the U.S. are still looking for that land of tolerance and opportunity to be able to practice their religion and to be able to promote certain beliefs and have that freedom to vote and not have that limited government, but to, move to a place where it's unlimited government. So, the migration from Mexico to U.S. has influenced a lot of that southern region of the U.S. by its language, by its music, by its food, and it continues to influence it now. And, it's very important that we still are mindful that migration still exists today, not just back, when people were trying to discover this new world, but it continues to happen. Okay, and I know some of the videos that we watched, it shows how people in the early days, migrated in these ships, and then later when things were settled, people came in through Staten Island, and, a lot of people can, trace back their coming to this country there, and that was on the East Coast. And then when you talk about the West Coast, talked about a lot of Asians and, people coming and migrating from the West Coast, and people use the Angels Island, which is found off the coast of San Francisco in that Bay Area, Angels Island, and how people, came through there for the process of migration. So then we go to our last slide, multiculturalism. Because of all these nations and all these people that have migrated to our country, we are very rich in diversity. Okay, there's a lot of people from different places with different beliefs, with different social aspects, when it comes to food and religion and music and the way they dress and just their everyday aspects. So, we live in a country that is very diverse. So I want you to take a minute and to just reflect back on our do now. And the question was, can you imagine living somewhere that did not have any migration, that was not diverse at all? What would that be like? What would that feel like? So, take a minute and reflect on that. So, multiculturalism, because of the history of the waves of immigration to the United States and Canada, have resulted in multicultural societies. We have, mixed families, we have mixed beliefs, we have branches of religion that have broken off, mixed in music. There's music, if we were to discuss the history of music, certain music comes from certain original music and it breaks, into other music, and it breaks into these new genres, and they were all originated by some type of old genre. So I hope that you enjoyed our lesson of migration and that you have learned why, people change your region and change your area and the things that they bring, and that it's not always easy, and that migration continues to exist from all places. And remember that there is two factors, the pull factor and the push factor. And we will continue, discussing and learning about world cultures. And I hope that you enjoyed.